Final Destination 3 takes place in 2005. We're shown a group of senior high school students on a trip to the fun fair. Oh, we're back to high schoolers again. Cool. But don't worry, they're 18 this time. Meet Wendy, her boyfriend Jason, Carrie, and her boyfriend Kevin, who's kind of a dickhead. Wendy has a camera their school loaned to her to take photos of everyone for their yearbook. But she's really anxious for some reason, which to us means that she's the seer. After a bunch of trash teen behavior and a copious amount of butt shots, they get on the main attraction of the whole fair, the Devil's Flight roller coaster. And it's leaking hydraulic fluid, but doesn't tell anyone. There's a perfect cut of a guy about to throw up before they get in. The actor put 110% into his role, and they don't even show it. How sad is that? There's this annoying pervert, Frankie, holding a camera he managed to sneak in onto the ride, which is against the rules for obvious reasons. He keeps pointing it at these two girls' titties, so one of them knocks it out of his hand at the loop-de-loop, where it falls and gets wrapped around the tracks beneath them. The roller coaster then runs it over, causing the leaky mechanism to fail completely and unbuckle all the passengers. Some wheels also get knocked out, causing a few cars to upgrade to planes. The hype train stops for no one, however, so it keeps on going, further deteriorating until it finally does stop at an upside down part. The remaining few passengers fall to their deaths, leaving only Kevin and Wendy, who manage to hold on and rock the ride back into motion. But they're not out of the woods yet, as Kevin gets cut in half on a loose piece of structure. And what's left of the ride ends up derailing with what's left of Wendy. The fun fair just turned not so fun and not so fair. Crazy how a small camera caused all this. Wendy then snaps out of it, as it all was the vision. She freaks out, they let her and Kevin off. Lewis, this guy, calls her a bitch, so Kevin fights him, and all three of them get kicked out.
Prepare to fight!
The two bimbos get the ick and also leave. Frankie follows them, of course, but Jason and Carrie aren't let off because they're at the front of the train, which then starts moving and takes everyone to the final destination. Hold up though, if Frankie got off and with him the camera that caused all of this in the vision, why did it still crash? Was the mechanism gonna fail anyway? If so, then what was the point of the whole camera thing? Whatever. Also, the premise is getting really predictable, so I hope they do something later to spice it up. Otherwise, this is gonna be very boring. A while later, Wendy's picking up her high school diploma when Kevin finds her and encourages her to attend the graduation party. She goes like, nope, fuck that, I'ma grab my shit and skip town. He tries to be a good friend and tells her he promised Jason to look after her, but she shuts him down.
On the ride for 3 minutes. If it wasn't for you and Jay being friends, me and Carrie being friends, we wouldn't have even hung out. We didn't even like each other.
Low-key feel bad for Kevin here. Like, yeah, he was a dickhead, but he's being supportive here. She could have at least turned him down nicely, and like, I get that she's grieving her partner, but so is he, yet he's being way more mature about it. She walks over to her car, all Blade Runner style, followed by Kevin, who tells her about the whole Flight 180 thing he found online while looking for an explanation, but that only pisses her off.
Fuck you, Kevin.
Well, that's a first. The seer herself doesn't buy the death theory this time. At home, Wendy is sobbing to her sister Julie about feeling guilty for not doing enough to stop the ride. You know how people say all Asians look the same? I'm starting to realize that white people are even worse. I literally can't even tell these two apart. I had to look up if they were twins, and apparently not. Julie is younger. Julie goes to prepare for the senior graduation party, while Wendy goes through the camera. She notices a clue about Jason's death in a photo she took of him. It looks like the roller coaster is going right into his head. She then scrolls through the rest of the photos, and some have very obvious signs, while others are more subtle, like this one of the two bimbos, who are called Ashley and Ashlyn, by the way, because telling them apart wasn't hard enough as it is. The seed that Kevin planted in her head with the Flight 180 stuff starts growing. Then she remembers that the two bimbos invited her to go with them to a tanning salon before the graduation, and it clicks. Palm tree, beaches, tanning. The two are already at the salon, and they have comically large drinks, which is how you know this movie is set in America. I find these two to be insufferable. They aren't mean or anything, they're kinda sweet in their own dumb blonde way. They're just raw, unfiltered cringe. It feels like watching a caricature? How the fuck do you?
Caricature.
Of the bimbo stereotype. The salon owner, Yuri, lets the girls sort themselves out while he argues on the phone with his Slavic wife outside. In his infinite wisdom, he uses a bottle of sunblock out of all the objects in the shop to hold the door open. One of the girls brought her drink with her to the tanning room, despite Yuri saying not to. Then they prepare to get toasted. And they listen to Roller Coaster of Love while tanning. Nice one. The room slowly gets hotter, which causes condensation on the cup, and that condensation leaks into the bed's control box, causing them to slowly ramp up the heat, way past the safe limit. Titties get a lot more screen time in this movie. Not that I'm complaining or anything. The device keeps freaking out, but they don't hear it because they have AirPods on. It gets so hot in the room that the automatic ventilation switches on, knocking a coat rack over the shelf, which snaps off and lands like a bridge between the two beds, preventing either of them from getting out. The beds, being pushed way past the limit, eventually catch fire and cook both girls alive. The shop owner hears the girl screaming at one point, but is unable to help because the sunblock bottle obviously didn't do shit, and he still locked himself out.
Open the door!
A funeral is held where Ian, the goth kid, reveals that the two girls who died weren't actually 18.
These two girls never done shit to anybody. They don't get to make it to 18.
It was all one big jail. After the service, Wendy gets existential with Kevin at Jason's grave, saying she's felt an ominous presence ever since that night, to which a sudden gust of wind blows at them. I guess Death is being like, yep, that's me, look, I'm here. Maybe Death just wants to be friends, yo. Everyone has been running from it, but has anyone tried actually talking to it? I mean, it seemed to be best friends with the mortician. Anyhow, Wendy shows Kevin the last picture Abraham Lincoln posed for, which has a line across it, precisely where he got shot, caused by the photographic plate breaking. Then this photo, which... do I really need to explain? But I do love that a Final Destination movie references 9/11. I hope they make one about it one day. And finally, this photo of the pilot from the second movie that shows 180 on a road sign. Kevin, who told her about the plane, doesn't believe her, saying she can't believe anything just because she's desperate for an answer. Brother, you're the one who told her about it in the first place. She then shows him the photos she took of Jason and the bimbos, and that is enough to get him sold. Kevin drives them to get some food while Wendy goes through the photos. Based on their order on the ride, Frankie should be next. But his photo isn't exactly helpful. Fortunately for them though, they won't have to wander for too long, as a runaway box truck merrily makes its way towards them. The music choice in this scene is top notch. With no time to back out of the drive-thru and both doors obstructed, Kevin kicks out the windshield and they get out just before the truck smashes their pickup into the car in front of it, causing the engine to fly out and give the driver ahead of them a new haircut. And would you look at that driver was Frankie, looking fresh dog. I'm not a huge fan of this particular death. I'm pretty sure a radiator fan isn't hard or sharp enough to cut through a skull that cleanly. But what do I know? I ain't no mechanic or a doctor. Hi. Professional mechanic here. Has this ever happened to you? I bet it hasn't, because your radiator has a low quality, flimsy fan. I can see it in your eyes. This could be your truck one day, buddy. Are you prepared? No need to worry. Look no further than Lonely Fans. The best, sturdiest, most reliable, sharpest, sexiest, gosh darn fans on God's green earth. And if you already have one in your car, that means you already know our premium quality. But did you know we also sell all other types of fans, from computer fans all the way up to ship propellers? Whatever fan you need, you can get it at Lonely Fans. They're lonely because you'll only ever need one. Get yours today. Who cares? I hated Frankie anyway. Good riddance, I say. The world's a safer place for women now. Kev and Wen lose their shit because Frankie's death had absolutely nothing to do with this photo. But while going through all the photos again, they see the clue was actually right in their face, just in another photo. Kevin took an upskirt photo of a colleague as she passed by, and would you look at that? Very ironic that Frankie's death was foreshadowed in a panty shot. Live by the die by the
Meow meow nigga!
They then check Lewis's photo, whose turn is next, and it looks like something is gonna fall on his head. They decide to go warn him, and something tells me he's gonna be the I control my life guy in this movie. Also, Kevin adamantly refuses to look at his photo, saying that if he sees it, he will obsess over it and will not be able to lock in like he needs to. And I agree. We've seen it a bunch of times already, where attempts to avoid the clue end up causing it. Kevin Wen finds Lewis at the gym, and I can smell this room. Lewis doesn't buy it, as I predicted, says they're tweaking just to cope with their losses. Looking closer, Wendy sees Sabers and a bear. Then she looks around her and sees Sabers and a bear.
Lewis ain't afraid of no death. Fuck that!
I took offense to that.
The amount of testosterone in the room exceeds FDA recommended levels, and the Sabers come loose directly above Lewis. But nothing actually happens, so he gets one more rep in for maximum gains.
just win! What I tell you, Kevin, huh? Fuck that!
The swords actually sliced the weight cables, which added a single rep of Skull Crusher into his routine, and I can confidently tell you that this is even more bullshit than Frankie's fan. Do you know how hard these cables are? And they weren't even tensioned when it hit them. Zero chance they would be cut so easily. And also, what kind of retard designed this thing? Of all the designs for that range of motion out there, not a single one has weights on a cable-bound flap like this. It's just a shit design. Maybe they switched from it after this exact thing happened in real life. I don't know. Kevin Wen go find Ian and his girlfriend Erin at the Walmart they both work at to ask them who was behind them on the roller coaster because they can't remember, and the one photo from the ride that shows it is not exactly helpful. They find Erin first, and as usual, she doesn't believe them and even calls Ian over to point and laugh at them with her. Kevin Wen follow them around the warehouse as they work, trying to convince them, but they just keep being assholes to them.
So let me get this straight. I'm gonna OD on nail polish.
Write that down, write that down!
Watching these two work makes me think the unidentified person on the ride was an OSHA agent. I say was because they've already died of a stroke and committed sewer slide in 4 different ways after seeing these two work. And the OSHA gods are not to be messed with. Ian knocks some shit off a shelf onto a forklift, which holds down the accelerator, driving it into a display, which drops more shit on the forklift and actuates the lever, causing it to lift the whole thing, knocking over bigger shelves behind it, creating a domino effect that ends with a bunch of sharp and heavy shit falling towards Ian. However, Kevin pushes him out of the way and everyone ducks and survives the incident. Erin even gets her nails done to celebrate. The photo was right, yet again. She did die by a gun, just a different kind of gun, and it was Ian's fault, since he knocked the stuff on the forklift that set this whole sequence off. I'm glad Erin went first, because that way Ian gets to suffer his loss. Yeah, I fucking hate this kid. I also like that Ian was gonna go before Erin. Kevin didn't do the whole hero thing, because in Wendy's vision, they both fall at the upside down part, but Ian lets go first. I'm glad they're keeping it consistent. Kevin Wen walk out of a police station and assume the mystery person's already dead, as they were supposed to go before Ian and Erin, and we've already nailed half that job. They also assume Ian has been skipped, which, God, I hope not. I want him to die the worst death in the whole series. But if he did get skipped, that means Kevin's next, and then Wendy. Kevin and Wendy are falling for each other, like the other two movies, and pretty much any movie where a guy and a girl go through events together. Wendy says she'll be constantly worried about him if they separate.
Why? We don't even like each other.
While obsessing over the photos, Wendy notices that the mystery person had her sister's special charm bracelet on, but since she wasn't on the ride, it has to be one of her two besties.
Amber or Perry.
She hits up Kevin, telling him to keep an eye out for Julie and her friends at this tricentennial thing they're going to, where he just so happens to be working security, which is very convenient. He tells Wendy it's time to look at their picture because they're next. Hers is just a normal photo, but it has McFuckface on her shirt, which is the name of their high school and town, but also happens to be Ian's last name.
How pathetic is it that my last name is the same as my high school?
As for Kevin, his photo is just deep fried, like an explosion, or
Like a firework went off in my face?
Wendy rushes to the ceremony and Ian tails her in his van as the song from Frankie's death plays on the radio.
There is someone walking behind you.
Yeah. It was actually still working in the first movie, but I don't think it would have worked if they just kept doing it every time. She gets there and tries to get to Julie, who is fleeing from Kevin because he tries to take her away. Then a firecracker startles the horse they were larking with, which is tied to the world's weakest spike, and runs amok with the spike flailing behind it. Kevin finally catches up to Julie, but she's not very cooperative. Having just recreated her picture, in which a horse from the carousel appears to be headbutting her, the rampaging horse almost headbutts her, but Kevin shoves her out of his way. Kevin's doing a lot of shoving people out of harm's way these days. However, this time it proves futile as the horse's rope wraps around her neck and drags her with it. Kevin yanks a sword from one of the larpers and uses it to cut the rope she's being dragged by just a second before she got turned to Swiss cheese. Her heebies are absolutely fucking GB'd when he tries to ask her who the person on the ride was, but the horse answers it for her. I went back to the vision and checked, but I can't seem to find any clear shot of this girl's face.
Do you remember Julie being on the roller coaster?
No, she would have said something by now.
Wendy's used to this shit, so she turns her attention immediately to who is now supposed to be next. The horse kicks him over the food stand where a gas hose ruptures and blows up the whole thing, but thanks to Wendy's quick thinking, she's able to pull him out just in time. Then Ian shows up and starts teasing Wendy, who's freaked out just by his presence as she thinks that he's her clue. Ian picks up on it and figures he is her clue somehow, which she likes because he thinks she caused Aaron's death some fucking how. He keeps getting in their way and being an asshole, insisting Wendy has to die for it all to be over, thinking that he's bulletproof now because he got skipped. Alright, big guy, you may be bulletproof, but are you fireproof? Oh, you are fireproof. Okay, but are you heavy as fuck objects proof? Yeah, I didn't think so. Rookie mistake to overlook that one. And I'm disappointed. I wanted him to suffer more. I am a bit confused why he died though. I mean, I know why he died, but why did that happen? I am confused about the order. Now that Kevin got skipped, Wendy would have been next. You know what? I give up. I'm not gonna even try. We then jump 5 months into the future and all seems well. Wendy is chilling on the subway, on train 81 to be exact. Wait a minute. Then someone starts singing the song.
There is someone walking behind you.
So Wendy decides to get off at the next step, but when she gets there, Julie randomly gets on, and Wendy just forgets about her impending doom. Not exactly something I would forget, personally. She does tell Julie that she has a shit feeling, but Julie's like, nah, we've been over this. It skipped the 3 of us. She humors Wendy and reminds her she's the last on the list anyway, so as long as Julie and Kevin are fine, she has nothing to worry about. You know, good thing Kevin isn't on this cursed train with them. Oh.
I was gonna look.
Well, shit.
The end.
Fuck literally everyone else on the train, I guess. Maybe they were all gonna die anyway, and Death decided to just clean up the roller coaster leftovers while we're here. Guess you could say that the subway train took them to their final destination. Did I like this movie? It was alright. Some deaths made no fucking sense, like Frank and Louis. The effects and sets have improved a lot though. They also introduced a full-on hateable character, Ian, which was a nice addition. Also, the whole subway thing at the end is a very subtle callback to the second movie. When Kim gave the survivors the burner phones, she used the subway as an example.
If I call and say, I don't know, subway, get to a high-rise fast, a place where no subway could possibly go, get it?
I think that's pretty neat. However, they didn't bring back the mortician, so I'd give this one an 8 out of 10. I'd give credit for the amount of tits and ass they showed, but it was jailbait, so I'm not gonna give them points for it. Fuck it, 9 out of 10. As I said, the real problem is that the premise is getting old, so I can't say I was that excited watching it. I don't think there's that much they can do to spice it up, which makes me very excited that I have to watch 2 more. I've only seen the first 3 as a kid, so from this point onwards, it's uncharted territory for me.